Hey, thanks for tuning in. Here are 23 things I learned at 23. First one would be don't let anyone make you feel less than. So, how people treat you is a reflection of themselves, and how you treat them is a reflection of yourself. Some people have baggage, as do I and many other people, but some people lash out against others rather than find more, say, healthy coping mechanisms in dealing with them. Next up, we have people come and go. I don't think it will come as a shocker, but there's a good chance that you only talk to little to no amount of people from your high school days. People are at different stages in their life and often come and go in terms of where their priorities lie and what's on their plate otherwise, whether that's with respect to career, relationships, or just working on themselves. Don't take it personally if people go off the grid, because sometimes people are just going through things and or just really preoccupied with life altogether. People are sometimes too busy living their own life to worry about you. I understand that the argument is that it only takes seconds to, say, respond to a text, but sometimes people go through really, say, dark times and or are quite simply really busy. Next up would be you don't need a purpose. Lots of people float by on a day-to-day basis. Not everyone has an idea of some $1,000,000 idea or wants to excel in their line of work or wants to be, say, parent, or I'm just listing off random things at this point. But for this, it's that lots of people just live on a everyday life, and some take it day by day. Some just want to get by, make a living, and have that be their existence. There's nothing really wrong with that. What's important is being intentional about today and work on things that drive meaning in your life, in terms of even if it's like mundane everyday life and or something past that point. Next one would be people are not against you, they are for themselves. For this one, it's that you shouldn't assume malice for people at the end of the day. In terms of things, it's that people are really self-driven to get to their goals, and how it manifests itself is completely different. It reminds me of, say, like a gunner type you might find in, say, a professional type program, or just different walks of life where, simply said, there's sort of like a try-hard type and sometimes condescending. I'm saying this as someone who was mainly a try-hard growing up, minus the condescension part. It needed some more like introspection and like self-reflection, but it came out of growing up in, say, like a magnet school, comparable to, say, like Stuyvesant, Fremont, or insert like competitive magnet school in the US. Next up, it would be you're not behind in this life. I learned this when I started comparing progress in my life to myself. As long as you're making good ground and you're doing fine, even if you're not, you're doing fine, because at the end of the day, you decide the values that you want to align to yourself with, and pretty much where you are in your journey when it comes to different facets, whether it's, say, like relationships, friendships, fitness, career, and so on and so forth. The world doesn't end if things don't go swimmingly. Say you don't get into school of your dreams, college takes an extra year, or you just don't get a job upon graduating, among different other things. So next up would be talking more specific about toxic relationships and how they aren't worth it. The toxic relationships are those in which people will only use you if you directly benefit from one way or another. Don't let people take advantage of you, and know your worth. Toxic relationships manifest themselves in a lot of ways too. Next one up would be a support system is invaluable. So for this one, get a supportive group of people with quality over quantity. Friends, family, and licensed mental health professional. Now this comes off as one of those like generic ones where you tell someone with, say, like a clinical depression, oh, just like meditate, work out, and your problems go away. But in a realistic sense, you just need a strong support system of people who are with you through thick and thin, and that's definitely easier said than done when it comes down to it. Next one would be just do it. Takeaway from this is Stop making excuses for yourself and just do the things you want to do. Pretty much nobody's putting out your fires, and it takes some time to get comfortable with doing that. And I find that by getting yourself to do it, the fear eventually goes away, or becomes less scarier the more often you do it, and as you get more comfortable with something altogether. Next one up would be this too shall pass. For this, it's that an issue that you can't get past today will be a small bump in your journey months or years down the line. And pretty much for this, it's that time is a great healer at the end of the day, which pretty much translates to the emotional pains that you face today lessen as time passes altogether. This is something a friend imparted on me when I was having a really hard time in my life years back. Rubbed me at the wrong way at the time, but looking back a couple of years, I believe that his advice carries with me to this day. So for next one, it would be focus on things you can control. For this one, it's that there are a lot of different things, and for this I had the trouble of all the things that are going around in the 2020s. It felt like every single day there was something that was imposed as, say, like life altering or something of the sort, and it happened in such quick succession that I didn't have enough time to process, say, like day before next thing occurred. I'm past that point now, but it allowed me to look back and try to frame things around what I can control, and beyond that is the unknown, and all I can do is frame how I react to things. Next one would be life is never linear. I don't like speaking in absolute terms, but I'll make an exception here. Things aren't linear because if you told me that 5 years ago that my high school self was applying to college, that I would drop out of a 6-year pharmacy program I'd enrolled in, and then eventually pursue graduate studies in completely unrelated field, I would have my mind blown, honestly. But here I am doing it, content with the path I've chosen, but just know that life, somewhere with its ups and downs, is not necessarily a straight line path when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Next one would be mindfulness allows you to reframe thoughts. This one would be more living in the present, as it's really easy to reminisce about the past, imagine what are other realities that could have been, or what the future lies in terms of what's to come. Staying in the now keeps me grounded and not overwhelmed, and rather than dwelling on past thoughts, I try to be comfortable with the statement that you made the best decision you could with the information you had at the time. Your past self is you in the past, your present self knows better, and your future self is to be determined. Next one up, we have set boundaries, and for this it's set boundaries with others. What setting boundaries looks like is different for everyone, which requiring different people to abide by different things you said. And for example, perhaps someone just vents to you, but that's it. They don't seek genuine human connection and don't express, say, interest of hanging out with you or invite you to gatherings altogether. You expressing a boundary would be something such as saying that you're not their therapist, and saying that you don't want to talk about their personal problems, and that would be the imposed boundary that you set up. The thing is, you can impose boundaries in pretty much different facets of your life. It lifts weight off your shoulder on some things that be, say, problematic among different things. Next one up would be tracking your expenses. For this one, it's tracking expenses is valuable, because at first it was intimidating to get started. Kept asking myself where money was going, but pretty much just set up a budget and pinpoint just different areas you could focus on, and making deliberate choices in terms of wanting to cut on this aspect and then focus on this one more. For this, it just starts off with, say, a basic Excel sheet and just sort of going from there. Next one up would be some friendships are deeper than others. For this one, it's that not every friendship is deep. You might have some where it's, say, hobby or pastime, but not going beyond life problems to just stranger or more acquaintance and type, where you might just enjoy hobbies or different things. There's value in the surface level relationships though, in addition to deeper ones. Next one would be happiness isn't an end state, and it comes and goes. For this, I used to think that happiness would be like a state of enjoying your life, but having it be at that state ultimately means dealing with ups and downs and sort of like what life is. Next one would be journaling works, but for me, I use journaling to identify triggers for, say, a bad day and activities I engage in to allow for a good one. For this one, it's writing down notes and writing down different things for more introspection. This one up would be your job is a job. For this one, it's pretty much that if I blink and a few years out, the only thing I've done for myself is professionally in years to come, that I know that I've failed in what I see as a meaningful life for me. I derive value and self-esteem / self-worth for myself as a person from endeavors outside of it. Might be burnout or change of priorities, but I just don't want to waste away my 20s just knowing that all I did was learn how to work. Next one up would be you define your values. For this one, it's pretty much going back to, say, high school days, grade school. It's like competitive in nature. I realized competitive nature of things doesn't stop from high school. It's pretty much you have to decide what values you want to follow and what you want to leave behind. Because for me, it's not seeking, say, a job and then being able to live and retire early. I don't dream of rat race, getting like fancy title and churning through that. I want mine to be of, say, service, helping others, and joining communities that enable me to do so, and supporting different groups that carry on that torch. Next one would be mentors give you more perspective on the world. So for this one, it's that I didn't have, say, like strongest role models growing up. Sure, there were parents, but for this, I don't want to dismiss them altogether. But for this, it's that when you're a latchkey child, say, parents are too busy for getting to know you as a person and vice versa, it doesn't really translate well into more mentors at a young age. I get mentors for different aspects of my life right about now, but it's pretty much gaining more perspective on the world. But it extends to different aspects of your life, ranging from career and other endeavors. Next one would be it's never too late to start something. For this, everyone starts somewhere when you think about it. Not going to pull up, say, like chart of, say, famous people who built unskilled tremendous things at later stages of their life, or looking at more of the micro scale in terms of it's never too late to pick up, say, that hobby you've been putting off and sort of just like diving head in. Next one would be perfectionism. It's not worth it. For this, it's that don't settle for less than perfect is something that was drilled into me growing up, but when I slowly became an adult, that made me question like self-esteem and what I thought of myself at times. Pretty much your self-esteem shouldn't be reflected in those things overall, in terms of being a perfectionist, being productive, and being top-notch go-getter and all the things altogether. You're allowed to fail, you're allowed to fall flat, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes to be better like the next time around. Last one would just be doing things alone and how it should be normal. For this, it's you're with yourself a good amount of every waking day. There's nothing wrong with, say, eating alone or doing different things in your life that you'd otherwise would with other people, but just in a alone type setting. I think those are just strong takeaways I had for a year, but it allowed me to just get a better sense of pretty much life so far. And yeah, I think that's about it for the video. But if you made it this far, thank you for your time today. And as always, don't forget to be awesome.